Warm good morning and namaste to all the learners of our KJ 2.0 Knowledge Junction 2.0 YouTube channel. This is a very important video, guys, where I am going to discuss the important grade-wise, topic-wise questions for uh, NTA that was conducted on 4th of September 2024. As you can see here on the screen, we have already divided our this question paper into three grades, and that is 1 star for LT. That is 1 star does not mean that it's less important question. In fact, it is the most basic fundamental question. So it's a very important gradation that I'm trying to explain to you right at the beginning of this video, so that all of us can be very ready and prepared for this categorization. Second thing is that we have already started our Telegram channel for especially for NET and Uttarakhand Poly students. So please do join our Telegram channel. Okay, I'm giving you the number in the YouTube video, our Ramesh sir's number. So do ask the link, and I will also try to copy it in this description of the video. Okay, and the second thing is 2 star means lecturer level. So especially I'm targeting the Uttarakhand PGT syllabus, and based on that I have categorized this. And the third 3 star is of course uh, uh, based on the difficulty level also. One of the it means that the question has a lot of depth and specifically related to net only or poly only. Okay, so we have also mentioned here that lecturer candidate should go for 1 star and 2 star both. So if you are a serious PGT English aspirant, especially Uttarakhand lecturer, or else if you are preparing for other exams also, there are many viewers that join us from different states. So they can look for 1 and 2 stars as very important. And for net candidates, of course, the whole paper is important. So this is signed by me. So we can start our quick cursory look at this thing. So let's start. First of all is first question is arrange the works of Carlyle in the chronological order. So we have put it in 3 star. That means it's specifically related to net level. And we have also tried to mark the years. So the answer is second. So question number 51, the answer is second. So that means first, specimen of German romance, and then we have got D, German literature, and then A, and that is periods of European culture, and then E, and then a revolution of modern Europe, and then the last one is hero and hero worship. So that is there. Okay, moving on to question number 52, 2 star. That means it's specifically related to, you can say, the playwrights of India, and the answer is one. That means Tughlaq, of course, is written by the great Girish Karnad. Goddess Speaks is written by V.K. Gokak. My Forest is written by you can say V.D. Trivedi, and Towards Marriage is written by M.V. Rama Sarma. Especially this question is important for lecturer aspirants, especially for Tughlaq. At least we should be aware who has written Tughlaq. It's a great historical play. Okay, then you can also just very quickly see that in the whole paper, there are of course total 100 questions. We have already taken 90 questions, and out of that 90 question, this is the series. 22 questions are from star 1. That means exclusively for LT, not exclusively, but for LT, and 2 star 21, and 3 star, of course, exclusively for net and poly. We have got 44 questions. So let's see. This question is again of 1 star. That means it's a fundamental question. So what is there? Stephen Tidolus appears as a character in. So it appears in a portrait of the artist as a young man and Ulysses both. So in that way, it's a very important question. Then which of the following poems are not written by Robert Frost? I have marked it especially as very important. So Under the Balcony and The New Remorse, they both are written by Oscar Wilde. Okay. And the rest of the three poems, An Old Man's Winter's Night, The Grindstone, The Smile. All these three poems are written by Robert Frost, of course. So I will also request all our LT lecturer aspirants to make a detailed note on all these three poems, especially because they have been asked in our net paper, so they become very important. Right. So 3 star, we have got the match the following questions. You can see again a very, you can say, high frequency of match the following in sequence questions are being asked as the trend in the last 2 years. So A, Windflower was actually written in 1970. Enchantment and Sorrow is written in 1984. Tin Flute is written in, you can say, 1947, and Garden in the Wind is written in 1975, right? So we have tried to find out the writers. The Windflower, Gabriel Roy. Enchantment and Sorrow again is by Gabriel Roy. So this you can say again a question for all of us, that we must search about Gabriel Roy. Okay, who is Gabriel Roy? And you can make a note on this, you can say, writer. Okay. Then moving forward, again a 3 star question. Which of the following is not a war poet, right? Is not a war poet, is not known as a war poet. So the answer to this question is John Maxfield, although it's not ticked. John Maxfield, sorry. So he's not a war poet. All these three are, you can say, war poets, especially you can say war poets of First World War. We know that it was a very important, you can say, event which shaped especially the second decade of the 20th century. And during this time, there was also a group which was flourishing at the same time. They were the traditional nature poets. They were called as Georgian poets. So when you are reading the war poets, you can just, for your comparison, you can also read Georgian poets. Make a note on Georgian poets all as well. Many of the poets were, you can say, in both the groups. So it's a very important study. Whenever you study for net, I would really, you can say, suggest to study in a comparative manner. So it helps to study all the, you can say, movements that were going around at that time. Right. Question 57. Who is the author of course in general linguistics? So 2 star. So the answer is Ferdinand de Saussure. Yes. 1916 it was written and it was published posthumously. We know that Saussure is called as the father of linguistics. He was a Swiss linguist, and his contribution to structuralism is absolutely fundamental in shaping this theory uh, later on. So question 58 is 1 star. That means a very important question, guys. So which of the following is not among the university wits? So it's a very trending question also. So Thomas Norton, of course, is not a university wit. We know that an university wit, there were total 7 in number, and we can categorize them as there is a code that we formed. PL square is equal to O and MGN is equal to C. Okay, so P is Pile, L is Lodge, and another L is Lily, and O refers to Oxford, right? And then similarly, MGN, Marlowe, Green, and Nash, and C refers to Cambridge. So this is the, you can say, categorization of the 6 of the 7 university wits. And of course, there is one fellow, Thomas Kidd. He is not officially, you can say, he did not officially study from any university. So that is, but still, because of his contributions to melodrama, his contributions to Senecan tragedy, especially revenge tragedy, he is considered as one of the pioneers of university in the group of university wits, right? And there is also one recent study done by one of our volunteers, and where we found that uh, I think yes, Green actually studied from both the universities. So this question requires more, you can say, uh, study, this fact rather. So moving on, question 59 is 1 star, where we are trying to find out the works and their, you can say, years, their sequencing. So first of all, again, it was by Thomas Carlyle, French Revolution, and then E, that is Origin of Species. Very important work, guys, for all the level aspirants. Charles Robert Darwin, or Charles Darwin in short, 1859, very important year. And then C, we have got C, that is Unto This Last, John Ruskin, the one who influenced, you can say, our great Mahatma Gandhi. So 1860, and then A, his studies in the history of Renaissance by Walter Pater. Actually, this work is called as the Manifesto of Aestheticism in England. So again, it's a very important work, guys. I would again say that make a detailed note of this work. And 1873 is the year. Walter Pater is known as officially the, you can say, the so-called the founding father of aestheticism in England, especially Britain. Okay, and then last is D, that is Making of England by J.R. Green, 1881. So that is there. Then next question is match the following again, 3 stars. So it's exclusive net question where we are trying to find out the Indian writers and their works. So the New India is written by Ved Mehta. This Matter of Culture is written by Jiddu Krishnamurti, one of the pioneering spiritual philosophers. And then East of Home is written by Santha Rama Rao. And then Light Luggage is written by V.V. John. So especially net aspirants, again, I would request that make the short notes on these writers and and write them down in your notebook. So it's going to really help you in your net preparation. So Black feminism, again, exclusive net question, 3 star. So it pays attention to A, B, and D, that is material lives. Material here refers to economic, you can say, priorities or economic condition of their, you can say, lives, and Black women, and then patriarchal nature of Black society and tradition, yes, and D is possibilities of sisterhood of Black women. So these are the 3 points. So what it does not pay attention, growth of individualism, and then you can say conforming to heterosexual relationship only. These are two wrong options, right? So moving on to 62, I have marked it as important, especially LT aspirants all across India. If they are watching this video, do watch this work, Lycidas. Okay, it's a very important work, and time again they have been asking question from this work. So Lycidas is, you can say, it is a pastoral epic, of course, and it's written by Milton. It is published in the year 1638, written in 1637, commemorating the death of Edward King. Lycidas, pastoral elegy, pastoral epic, okay, sometimes also called as personal elegy. Okay. Uh, you can also search for one word monody here just for your comparison and write the notes on how monody is different from pastoral elegy. Okay, which of the following can be classified as science fiction? So it's a typical question, especially at lecturer level. They are asking this kind of fundamental questions. So science fiction is any work which actually refers to the implication of science, especially in a dystopic society, especially in a future settings, and trying to find out the negative implications of the advancement of technology, right? So especially the science fictions are dystopias. Okay, so the answer is Time Machine, H.G. Wells. It's a very important, one of the greatest modern science fictions. And then Brave New World, of course. Aldous Huxley is known for that. And of course, it was published in 1932. And then the rest of the novels we have written the names. Great Expectations is, of course, by Charles Dickens, very important novel. The Golden Gate is by Vikram Seth. It's first novel of Vikram Seth, published in 1986. It is written in 590 Eugene Onegin stanza. Now, Eugene Onegin was a great Russian writer, and Eugene Onegin stanza is also known as Pushkin sonnets, right? Pushkin sonnet. So he actually wrote in 14 lines, typical Russian poetry. So it is a 14-line sonnet, but at the same time, it has different metrical pattern. So go for in detail notes for Eugene Onegin stanza. What is it, and where was it written? It was written by, as I've told you, by Alexander Pushkin. He is considered as a greatest Russian writer of 19th century poet. He was a poet, and he wrote this experimental work called as Eugene Onegin, right? So Vikram Seth applied this meter and wrote his work, The Golden Gate. Okay, moving on to the next work, a feminist literary and cultural theory. Again, it's a criticism and theory topic. So the answer is B and E. It examines the privileging of some meanings at the cost of others, and it provides the native with the means of resistance, right? So that is true. Okay, and then 2 stars. So lecture PGT level, very important. Arrange the following in the chronological order. So uh, means this question, I think, yes. So maybe the options were not correct, but the, you know, it's all the works of Nissim Ezekiel. So we have tried to find out the years 76, and then Unfinished Man is 1960, and then A Time to Change and Other Poems is the first book. So we can say the C, and then D is 1953, 60 poems, and then B, I'm sorry, The Unfinished Man, and then E, the exact name, and then A, Hymns in Darkness. So yes, so the options are also correct. So C, D, B, E, A. And Sahitya Academy he received 1983 for the Latter-day Psalms. Nissim Ezekiel is known as the father of modern poetry in Indian English literature. His poetry is actually fundamental in shaping the Indian sensibilities after the independence of India. In his poems, we see the themes of alienation and existentialism. Right? He also shows experimentation with Indian English, sometimes called as Babu Angrezi, especially in his poems like Goodbye Party for Miss Pushpa T.S., where he used the Indian syntax, especially Indian colloquialisms, and the Indian English errors that Indians tend to do, especially in tenses. And he used that to, you can say, to express that kind of English, which is often used by clerks all over India, especially post-independent India. Okay, he belongs to the community, the Jewish community, Bene Israel, and his most of the poems are centered on urban sensibilities of Mumbai. That's why he's also called as Bombay poet, right? Okay. So next question is, which of the following is not correct about cognitive approach to language learning? I think it's a very important question, especially for I have also written here for poly students, because we know that in Uttarakhand Polytech English this seats or vacancies are out. So it's going to become a very important question. So the thing which is not correct is it rejects the teaching of grammar and language rules. So I think this is not correct. What are the things which are correct? It lays emphasis on conscious acquisition of language, intellectual understanding, reasonable understanding. So all three are correct according to our knowledge. Okay. Again, next question is who describes himself as not an Indian poet, but a poet writing a universal language of poetry of feeling of love and hate and sex. So the answer is A.K. Mehrotra. Actually, A.K. Mehrotra is also known for writing history of Indian literature in English. He is actually a historian also in that context, a critic historian, Indian literature in English. And I have told many students that this book is the latest updated book, you can say, on our Indian literature in English. So A.K. Mehrotra. Okay. Then next question is, which of the following statements are true about synecdoche? So the true statement is B and C, that is, it's a figure of speech in which part refers to the whole and in which the name of an attribute is substituted for that of the thing which he meant. So that is synecdoche. So it's a question of postgraduate or PGT level, but very important for ILT and NET also. So who has written the metaphysical poet? So this is there in our syllabus also. T.S. Eliot wrote this, the metaphysical poet, in 1921. It's a very important essay where he did the review of Herbert J.C. Grierson's anthology Metaphysical Lyrics of and Poems of 17th Century. Which of the following is not an empiricist philosopher? So empirical philosophy means based on anything which is based on facts and observations, right? So Rene Descartes is not a, you can say, empiricist philosopher. He was a rationalist. He basically said that cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Rene Descartes. David Hume, Francis Bacon, and John Locke. All three are empiricist philosophers, right? So which of the following writers do not exclusively belong to the 18th century? Very good question. So Robert Sade, of course, we know that he came in the Romantic era later on, and Charles Lamb was out and out Romantic age writer, although his writings suggest so many different you can say currents also, but he technically speaking in terms of chronology, he also falls in Romantic era, right? So, or should I say 19th century? The rest of them with their, you can say, DOBs also, you can write them in your copy and in that way make your own notes. So as I keep on repeating this fact that the writers, especially their date of births, is fundamental now. If you're preparing for NET, especially poly, especially, they are asking this question time and time again regarding the sequence of their births, sequence of their works. Okay, so do find a technique of your own in which you can learn all these things. So MS is there. So which of the following is true? So the true is A, B, and E. He is best known for his term negritude. Of course, it's called as the second renaissance of blacks, first being Harlem Renaissance, and third being, you can say, beat movement. These three are very important movements of black African literature. So Amos Isaiah was influenced by Harlem Renaissance, of course, and he argued that colonialism was never a benevolent enterprise. Okay, so just for your information, C and D, Amos Isaiah wrote Wretched of the Earth. It's wrong. It's written by Franz Fanon, and he was a feminist writer. That's also wrong. So negritude is a movement in Francophone literature. That means French-speaking blacks. For cultivating black consciousness, it was influenced by Harlem Renaissance, which is roughly from 1918 to 1937. He said in his work, Discourse on Colonialism. This is a work by Amos Isaiah, right? So match the following related to figures of speech. Very important question, for fundamental question for all learners. So metonymy is, I enjoy reading Shakespeare. Metonymy is basically conceptual metaphor where you use one writer as a, you can say, you are of course not reading Shakespeare as a person, you are reading his works. So that is there as a concept. Paradox is of course contradictory statement. Tell me not, sweet, I am unkind. Okay, so that's a paradoxical statement. Personification, we know, is the, you can say, personification means the, you can say, giving animate qualities to inanimate things, right? So busy old fool, unruly son, we are giving the human attributes to sun. And then metaphor, of course, is, we know that implied meaning is used. So the river snakes its way through the mountains. So that's a metaphor. Very important question. Then what is the correct chronological order of the following poets? So 1 star, very important again, their DOBs. So DOBs are very important. So we can say that, so who was the first to born? I think John Donne was there. And then after John Donne is, we have got Edward Herbert. So after C, we have got B, right? Uske baad, then we have got D and A. That means George Herbert is there, and then Thomas Carey is there, and then the last is James Shirley. So you can see how close these options are. So second answer is correct, right? Especially John Donne's date of birth and year of death is very important. Year of birth, I would say, not date, but year. Okay, which of the following statements help in understanding the concept of interdisciplinary plenarity? Interdisciplinarity. Okay. Disciplinarity. Okay. So the answer is A and D. So application of education beyond university and idea of bringing together diverse disciplines. So it's very important question for NET aspirants. Do make your individual notes on this and try to find more on this intriguing topic. Okay. Who among the following are not part of Black aesthetic movement? So again, a very important 3-star question for NET aspirants. So not part of this is, according to my knowledge, I think it has to be, you can say, Black aesthetic movement. So the question actually seems to be a bit ambiguous. One answer is, of course, Stuart Hall is there. So if you look at it in that way, Stuart Hall is there. And then if you mark it in this way, we have got A and B as the option. So David Pepper, we have to find out that David Pepper is also not part. So in that way, consider, excluding them out, we have got Alan Sinfield, Anthony Appiah, and Hazel Carby as the part of the BAM movement. So we have made a short note on that. 1960s and 70s, the founder is Amiri Baraka, African American movement. Notable figures include, apart from him, Sonia Sanchez, Haki Madhukuti, Nikki Giovanni, Ishmael Reed. All these are there. So according to my knowledge, one answer is correct. Okay. And then the line, that is no country for old man, figures very important for lecturer aspirants, especially for NET and LT also, that the answer is Sailing to Byzantium. It's published in this collection in October in Blast in 1927. Robert Frost, you can say. The second is Death of the Hired Man is by Robert Frost. A Forsaken Garden is by A.C. Swinburne. And Channel Firing is by Thomas Hardy. Okay. All right. So arrange the following of works of Joseph Conrad. So again, it's especially for exclusively for net aspirants. So the first is Outcast of the Islands, 1896, and then D, Nigger of the Narcissus, important work, 1897. Then we have got Heart of Darkness, five-star work indeed, 1899. Okay, the main character of Heart of Darkness, if you remember, Christopher Marlowe, very important novella it is, right? And then Typhoon, we have got 1902, and then C, Under Western Eyes, 1911, right? Moving on, typical two-star question is you can say works and they are writers. So Christopher Marlowe wrote Jew of Malta, of course, William Shakespeare, Winter's Tale, Thomas Kidd, Spanish tragedy, very important. It's called as the first proper Elizabethan tragedy. It's also called as the first major revenge tragedy, Spanish tragedy. And then Ben Jonson, of course, Every Man in His Humor. The preface of this work, he introduced his typical comedy called as Comedy of Humors, Ben Jonson, right? So the answer is second. Then choose the correct sequence for writing a research paper, exclusive question for net and also for poly aspirants. So the answer is BADCE. So first is you can see finding a topic, and then second is gathering data, and the third is organizing ideas and setting goals, and then the fourth is finding and reading the best resources, and the fifth is of course writing the paper. Okay. The line drop, drop, slow tears. So drop, drop, slow tears is again a three-star question. So it's a metrical question. It requires, you can say, a very important metrical analysis. So I will put this question under the topic Skansen. Okay, so if you look at this drop, drop, right? So drop. So this is stress. And then drop, stress, slow, stress, and tears, stress. So two equal stresses are there. Two equal stresses are there. So what is that? If there are two equal stresses in any, you can say, metrical pattern, that is spondy. Spondy, the name also, if you pronounce spondy, so there are two equal, S here refers to stressed syllable. There are two kinds of syllables. We know what is syllable. Syllable is a vowel sound, right? So vowel sound refers to, you can say, two kinds of vowel sound. One is U, that is unstressed syllable, and the second is S, stressed syllable. So I have used two stressed syllable here and then repeatedly two stressed syllable. So we can say if you want to, further go into this. So spondylic diameter, according to my knowledge, because there are two, you can say, units of spondies being, repeated. So that is there. So there is no doubt that it is a spondy. And then what is pyric? Pyric is two equal unstressed syllables. So we have got UU as a pyric. Dactyl and trochee, I have already, explained in my fundamental classes. IATD, one, what is I? I is yam, unstressed and stressed. What is anapaste? A is anapaste, two unstressed, one stressed. T is trochee. So that is stress and unstressed. That is one of the options here. And D is dactyl, which is one stress and two unstressed. So this also you must remember. Okay. All this falls under Skansen and prosody, all these things. Okay. Then again, if you look, same question, above question is repeated in this way. So trochee is, I have just explained, stressed followed by unstressed. Dactyl is, you can say, one stress followed by two unstressed. Spondy is two stressed syllable. And yam is very fundamental, unstressed followed by stress. So the answer is one. Very important, okay? Then typically net question, preface to Fables and Ancient and Modern is written by Dryden. Then Pleasures of Imagination. This is making rounds, this question. This especially work by Edison. They have been asking this work. So do make a separate notes on this work. At every level, they have been asking this. Functions of Criticism is by T.S. Eliot, of course. And The Imagination is only written by, only The Imagination is written by I.A. Richards. Okay. Moving forward. These are the notes that you will find in our PDF, additional notes that we have written on this topic. Okay, then women studies is focused and built upon exclusive question for net, very important, A and D, that is feminist critique of knowledge, and D is shift from liberal feminist views to more socialist and radical views of gender and culture. So women studies is actually the what is knowledge, that is being the feminist critique of being of what is being knowledge, and shift from liberal feminist views to socialist and radical views. So then we have also made a separate note on CRT, that is critical race theory, critiques the relationship between race, law, power, and challenges. Dominant narratives are being criticized. Okay. The next question is arrange the following literary texts. So it's an obvious question. The answer is second. That is, first is Rape of the Lock in 1712, then Windsor Forest, then the Dunciad, of course, and then we have got Essay on Man in 1734, and D, last is Epistle to Dr. Arbuthnot, that is in 1735. Very important question for our LT aspirants, Uttarakhand especially, because Alexander Pope as a writer is there. Okay. Then arrange the works literary magazine. I consider this question as a very fundamentally important question because all the magazines with their beginning years and ending years are being mentioned in this. So the research behind every question, especially the KJ volunteers, I give a royal salute to them. They have been doing this work selflessly on my request, and I believe that the true strength of any team lies in this selfless work that we do for each other, and that is the cause of the success that we are receiving at at a massive level. So the blessings of course the almighty, of our gurus, and of course the spirit to serve, to help each other. So that's very important, especially in literature. What is the point if we are reading all these good things but not applying them, isn't it? So anyways, so this is the answer is 3. Okay. So who is the author of French Revolution is of course Thomas Carlyle, by in 1837 wrote this work. Then who wrote the famous book History of Dramatic English Literature? So William Ward wrote it in 1997. A very good book, especially for research scholars on English drama. The plays which are based on the biblical stories are known as mystery plays. Okay, miracle plays are based on the lives of saints. Okay. Then arrange the following plays in their chronology. The answer is 3. So the first is Lady of the Last Minstrel, and then second is Jane Eyre, of course, a very important novel. Then the third is Mary Barton by Elizabeth Gaskell, Condition of the England novel category. Then B, Henry Esmond, 1852, William Makepeace Thackeray, the great satirist of Victorian era, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, R.S. Stevenson, the Scottish novelist known for writing you can say, a science fiction, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Okay. Archetypal patterns, typical net question is written by Maud Botkin. Archetypal criticism, dynamics of literary response, Norman Holland, American. RRT, which means reader response theory. Anxiety of influence, a great Johnsonian critic of America, Harold Bloom. Then a literature of their own is, of course, the great feminist from America, Elaine Showalter. On the left-hand side, their corresponding years. Then which of the following statements are true about cyberfeminism? Very important movement of 1990s. It interrogates the patriarchal nature of new information and communication technology. It is a negotiation with the contemporary culture's extensive informatization, right? Donna Haraway's A Cyborg Manifesto in 1985 is a very important work, and it's a very key question going forward in your net preparation. Do make your detailed notes on cyberfeminism, especially Donna Haraway's. This work is very important for our LTN poly students, right? Midnight Children is a representative text, of course, of post-colonialism, right? Actually, uh, there is an ambiguity here. I would rather beg to differ from this answer that have been ticked here. I would rather say it's postmodernism, because out and out, if you look at Salman Rushdie, especially this text is a classical, although post-colonial elements are there, but most importantly, I would say it as postmodernism. So I would just, change the answer from 2 to 3 here. It's a 1981 novel, second novel of Salman Rushdie. It's a Booker Prize. Two times this novel received the Booker Prize. Okay. Which of the following poems are by Sir Walter Scott? So, Loshinwa, Dance of Death, and Christmas in the Olden Time. So, the answer is A, C, D. Walter Scott, of course, known as father of historical novels, is also the writer of ballets, revival of Scottish ballets. Okay, and one more important thing about Walter Scott, he wrote the first biographies of novelist called as Life of Novelist. Very important. Author of French novel Les Journaux de Mademoiselle d'Arvers. So Torudat, we know, was actually a very important writer in terms of Indian English poetry. She is called as, you can say, a connecting link between 19th and 20th century, a transitional poetess along with Sarojini Naidu. Turudat has good command or had good command over French also. So that's why this novel. Who has written Jejuri? So now Jejuri is considered as a very important work, guys. 1976. The work is actually it's a small town in Maharashtra, just like Saburi. If you have heard about Shraddha Saburi, the great Sai, the legend of Sai. Similarly, Jejuri is also a great Marathi pilgrimage, and Arun Kolatkar is known for writing this very important spiritual Odyssey, in which the inner spiritualism of the pilgrim is being explored. This work is considered as a milestone in the developing Indian English poetry, and Arun Kolatkar received a Commonwealth Prize for this work, Jejuri. So the next is a very important, I think, question because it clears the fundamental of our literary criticism. Postmodernism, the father is Jean Baudrillard in many ways. Psychoanalysis, modern ways, Jacques Lacan. Mimicry is, of course, given by Homi Bhabha, and new historicism, Stephen Greenblatt. So the answer is fourth option. Abhigyan Shakuntalam, of course, is written by the legendary Kalidas, and it's the story of Dushyanta and Shakuntala, considered as a classical text in medieval Indian aestheticism. And I would say that it is considered as a very important source of study of multiple theories in our Indian, you can say, uh, literary tradition. So I have put the second star here, 2 stars. That means at PGT level, this question becomes important. So the writers and their novels. So Untouchable is, of course, by Mulk Raj Anand in 1935, Serpent and the Rope 1960, Raja Rao. Nectar in a Sea, Kamla Markandeya is considered as a very important rural novel in Indian English novels. Tiger for Malgudi is, of course, written by R.K. Narayan in 1983. These are the characters you can write. Okay. Then of the following, what is not true about Pidgins and Creole? I think it's considered as a very important for poly also. Distorted versions of other language. This is not true. So what is true? It is spoken by third world countries, new languages in their own right, developed during the periods of linguistic crisis. All these 3 points are true. What is not true is that it is not a distorted version. It's not a distorted version. It's a unique linguistic system that emerged from language contact. Pidgins arise from trade, colonization, migration, and it refers to reduced vocabulary of grammar. It's not native language. It is used for practical purpose. Creole develops from Pidgin, becomes native language of a community, and it has a more complex grammar and vocabulary. The Frontiers of Criticism by Eliot is associated with New Criticism. Of course, it's an important question. New Criticism, it's an important theory also. Which of the following poets are called graveyard poets? Now, graveyard poets were the poet in the, you can say, in the mid 1740s, I would say, or mid 18th century, you can say just close to mid 18th century. So Thomas Parnell, Edward Young, and Robert Blair, these were the 3 very important poets. Of course, one poet who is not mentioned, but one of the very important poet for us is Thomas Gray, who wrote the legendary, you can say, elegy written in a country churchyard. Then Patrick White's Voss. We move to Australian literature. The character Voss is exploring himself. It is a 1957 written work. Patrick White is the only Australian to receive Nobel Prize in Literature so far. Robert Browning's My Last Duchess is, of course, a narrator is Duke of Ferrara. It's a dramatic monologue. Very basic and fundamental question. Which of the following is not an Irish playwright? Harold Pinter was, of course, not an Irish. He was a proper Englishman. He received Nobel Prize in 2005 rather, and rest of the three writers, G.B. Shaw, Synge, and Oscar Wilde, they were Irish. So these three writers were Irish basically, excluding, of course, Harold Pinter. Arrange the following in chronological order as they appeared on English literary scene. So very, very important question, I would say. I think one of the most important questions, if not the most important question in the whole paper. So for clearing our fundamentals. So first is metaphysical poetry that appeared in 1620s. Then second is epistolary novel, of course, you can say mid 1740s, I would say. Okay, Samuel Richardson introduced epistolary novel, we know, Pamela and all. And then art for art's sake is actually, yes, mid 19th century rather. First introduced in France, first in Germany rather, then France, and then to England. And then E is stream of consciousness in the early 1900s. In fact, introduced in 1890s somewhere in psychology by William James. And then D is epic theater. It was introduced by, of course, the great Bertolt Brecht, the German playwright. Okay. So that was somewhere in mid 20s. So very important question. You know, if you are aware of the movements of English literature, it's a child's play for you. So that's why I always believe that literary ages and literary movements, they go hand in hand, and you must be quite familiar with all of these things if you are to qualify any exam, let alone net. But if you have to qualify even LT and lecturer level also, you must be thorough with all these movements and their timelines. And which of the following is the first published composition in English by an Indian? So the Brahmanical magazine. This is a factual question, 1785-86 by Ram Mohan Roy. Okay, good question, this one. Then we have got Afro-American literature is Zora Neale Hurston. Then Caribbean literature, V.S. Naipaul. Australian Aboriginal is Sally Morgan. And Dalit is Basudev Sunani. So again, a very, very important question for all level, especially for poly and net. So the answer is one. Then who wrote the famous text Dignity of Man? This remained a mystery. We tried to find out, but we couldn't. So if you get the answer, do write in the comment box. Then arrange the following. So this question also, I have put a cross over here. According to us, the answer should be CBEAD. CBEAD. I think there was one ambiguity related to, yes. So I think this A and E should be here. They should be changed. It should be AE. Yes, it should be AE, but none of the options mention that. So according to me, it should be CBAED. So if you find any other answer, if you find second as the answer, do post in the comment box. Okay. 111 is Because I Could Not Stop for Death. He kindly stopped from me. One of the iconic poems of the legendary 19th century recluse poetess of America, Emily Dickinson, called as Nun of Amherst. Then 112, of course, is A, B, C, D, E. So chronological order is mentioned. We could not find the exact dates, but we try to find out the answer for you. So that is there. Then 113, we have got truly neither philosopher nor historiographer could have entered into the gates of popular judgments if they have not got a great passport of poetry. Of course, is said by Philip Sidney in an apology for poetry in 1595, right? Which of the following are correct about the components of romantic epistemology? So, romantic epistemology is, of course, one of the answer would be C, would be definitely there, and the active projective view of human self and mind. So according to me, the answer would be A and C. So third would be the answer, because there is no belief in reason. And of course, mechanical, impersonal, and artificial would not be there. So B and D, all the options are out. If in any of the options B and D is there, so that leave us with A and C. So according to me, 3 would be the answer. Which of the following periods in African American writing is called Harlem Renaissance? So roughly 1918 or 1972, 1920 especially. This is the time period when Harlem Renaissance started booming. It's called as the first Renaissance of blacks. Concept of biopower is given by Michael Foucault in his work The Will to Knowledge in 1970s. Then what is not considered true to postmodernism, industrialization and absolutism is not connected. What is connected? Self-reflexivity, magic realism is a very important technique of postmodernism, and hybridity of styles. Arrange the following text in their order of publication. So the answer is A, B, C, D, E. All these plays of Shakespeare. Defense of Hindu Theism was of course written by the great Raja Ram Mohan Roy, called as the maker of modern India. 1817, written as a reply as an attack of an advocate for idolatry. Then again, V.S. Naipaul's work are there, so we have to match their. So House for Mr. Viswas in 1961, Area of Darkness 1964, India a Million Mutinies now 1990, Bend in the River 1979. So second is the option. In which of the following books are not authored by Chinua Achebe? So the answer is A, B, and E. Weep Not Child is written by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and then again A Grain of Wheat again is by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and Petals of Blood is by Ngugi wa Thiong'o. So A, B, and E are not written by Chinua Achebe. Of course, he wrote Things Fall Apart. He also wrote The Arrow of God. Dover's Beach. Arnold speaks about very important poet because in our Uttarakhand lecturer Matthew Arnold is there and considered as a central poem. So the answer is A, B, and C. So the sea, which is calm, literally and metaphorically, sea of faith, which was one at its fullest. The premonition experienced by Sophocles long ago. So Sophocles reference is also there. What is not being mentioned is uselessness of love, war between England and France. So he speaks about these are the things. Hmm. A and B would definitely has to be there. So if you look at the options, A and B are not present in any other option except for third option. So that brings C also in equation. Okay. And then D and E are out. Okay. These English songs gravel one to death. So gravel means to irritate. Okay. So irritation. It's a informal language that is used by, of course, the great Robert Burns, the plowman poet, who said this. So that's it's said by Robert Burns, plowman poet, farmer poet of mid 18th century. First English tragedy, Gorboduc, of course, is written by Sackville and Norton. So that is a very important question. Arrange the following movements in their chronological order. Again, a very important question. The question also, kind of the options were not fitting into their equations, but we still try to find out what is there. Then I think phenomenological criticism is the one which actually demands our attention. I think this is the first, you can say, thing. Then the second thing is Russian formalism. And then the third is deconstruction is there. And then I mean, this is where we were kind of, confused because after Russian formalism, according to my knowledge, it should be feminist criticism, and then it should be deconstruction, and then it should be cultural studies. So it should be like DC, and then it should not be B, it should be A, and then B. So according to me, it should be DCABE, but the option is DCBAE. So that is a kind of challenge, or should I say confusion for me also. So if you find the better option, do comment. Okay, so that is there. And if we rule out this option, then we are left with kind of second option, which is Russian formalism, and then we have got deconstruction, which is of course wrong. Then if we consider first as Russian formalism, and then let's take phenomenological criticism after that, and then feminist criticism, and then deconstruction, then so maybe I would say that first may be the option, because there is a bit ambiguity that who came first, Russian formalism, phenomenology. If we consider Russian formalism, because it appeared in, I think, 1914 or something like that, and then phenomenology came, then that sequence CD, and then the third is feminist criticism, where we see Virginia Woolf, A Room of One's Own, and all those things, right? So maybe if DCAB is not wrong, then is wrong, then CDABE would be the answer. Mano Majra is, of course, written by Khushwant Singh. And then not a modernist writer, Henry Fielding was not, of course, a modernist writer. He was one of the four wheels of novels of 18th century, the four fundamental pillars of, you can say, English novels. We know R.F. S. Square, Richardson, Fielding, Smollett, and Sterne, but rest of them were the great modern writers. Look back in anger, actually A, B, and E. So it represented real confusions among real people of 1950s, more important as a cultural phenomenon than as a work of literature. And it is Victorian in its outlook. So what is not true? It's about a provincial graduate? No. It's about the upper class? No. Nida Godimer received Nobel Prize in 1991, was a South African writer. Is not a feminist critic. Of course, Emily Bronte is not a feminist critic. She was a Victorian writer. Simone de Beauvoir, Judith Butler, Virginia Woolf were feminists. Sons and Lovers is, of course, psychoanalysis. Waiting for Godot is postmodernism. Midsummer's Night Dream shows new historicism. A Room of One's Own is feminism. So A3, B4. So I think this is the option. Gabriel Garcia Marquez, the great, you can say, writer from South America, is known for magic realism. Okay, Love in the Time of Cholera. He's called as the Great Gabo. Okay, the one who influenced all the South American continent throughout. Okay, the great Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Then this is so much depends on a red wheelbarrows. William Carlos Williams, I think, belongs to Beat movement, if I am not wrong. Maybe yes. Your mind and you are Sargasso Sea. Ezra Pound. Spring is like a perhaps hand. E. Cummings, and I caught the cold flash of the blue unappearable sky. Stanley Kunz. So A3, B1. A3, B1. So first option is there, right? Then the moment of protagonist recognition in a narrative is called as anagnosis, right? Decisive turn in a tragedy, catastrophe, by which the plot is resolved. Inversion of an already established sequence is called as chiasmus. Figure of speech by which something distasteful is described in less repugnant terms, euphemism. So I think answer is 3. Very important question. Globalization is antithetical to cultural nationalism and you can say narcissism. Okay, so that is there. Then deductive method of research intends to move from particular to general. Yes, that's very true. And then according to Edward Albert, the years 1550 to 1630 is known as the Renaissance. So Edward Albert, the great historian of Indian of English literature rather. So arrange the following questions. Animal Farm 1945, Burnt Out Case 1960, Graham Greene. Animal Farm, of course, George Orwell. Mill on the Floors, George Eliot 1860, Book of Snobs 1848, The Great Thackeray satirist. Tale of Two Cities 1859 by Charles Darwin. So answer is DECAB, second option. And then who defined criticism as disinterested endeavor? The answer is Matthew Arnold, of course, in the functions of criticism at the present time. Very legendary definition. Who has written The Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus, a French philosopher, okay, existentialist philosopher, 1942. This is the essay which basically introduced the absurd, the concept of absurd. So, guys, this in a way brings me an end to this fascinating session. I hope you enjoyed it. Do like, share, and subscribe our channel. And also, if you are interested to get a batch from me, which is running right now at of Poly batch and Uttarakhand lecturer English batch also, and Net Poly batch also. They both are running live. So do call at 7217469297. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Do keep commenting your love and share your uh, love, and as well as you can say support by sharing this video to as many people as possible. Thank you.